Hello and welcome back to another AP Sports video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns and what I think they're building down there in Arizona. Before I get fully into that, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. This graphic is insane. 95% of the people that watch my videos, or our videos, are not subscribed. So, I know we're a small channel, we're trying to grow, so if you could please subscribe, it would help a lot. Like the video if you enjoy. But without further ado, let's get right into the meat of the video. First off, I'm going to start with the biggest thing that's happened with the Phoenix Suns recently is CP3 is now on the team. So Chris Paul just led the Thunder to a fantastic playoff run. Well, I don't want to call it a playoff run because they didn't go very deep, but they had a run because their expectations were so low. I'm pretty sure there was some graphic before last season that was like they had a 0.9% chance of making the NBA playoffs, which was bottom of the league. And I think that's pretty atrocious looking at it now, especially seeing that they took the Rockets to more than a few games. It shouldn't have been as close as it was. But CP3 has moved on. The Suns traded Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre Jr., a couple first-round picks, but I think that the Thunder are set for success, obviously. At the moment, Sam Presti has 17 first-round picks. Everything that they're doing over there is building for the future. The Suns is quite the opposite. They obviously are trying to somewhat build for the future because their star is really young and he still is developing. Same with their star center. But CP3, in my opinion, is going to be just as important as having young players for Devin Booker and the future of the Phoenix Suns. He's going to provide veteran leadership for all of these guys. He's going to allow, I think Devin Booker is going to have a career year. Mark my words, by the end of this regular season, we're going to view Devin Booker as a top 15 player in the league. I know some people already do. I'd say he's more top 20. I think Donovan Mitchell is better than Devin Booker at the moment. But with CP3's leadership, CP3's playmaking, his ability to kind of come up in the clutch a little bit is going to save Devin Booker a lot of criticism. So I'm excited to see that. And then CP3, obviously, I mean, the pick and roll, he is one of the best in the pick and roll as a playmaker. And now he has DeAndre Ayton, who averaged 20 and 12, or 18 and 12 last season. He did have a little bit of issues to start the season with some PEDs. He missed some games. I think he was suspended 25 games to start the season. But he came back in a big way and contributed to the Suns' success. I mean, I don't want to call them a very good team at all, but I have to say that 8-0 run in the NBA bubble was impressive to see. Although I don't think it is as impressive as people think it is. Going 8-0 in any high-stakes situation is an accomplishment, no matter who you were playing. I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. Plus, they've got CP3, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, those are the big three. Those are going to be the guys making the big plays, averaging 20 a game. With all that said, the depth on the Suns isn't amazing, but they do have a couple good players. Cam Johnson, rookie last year. He led the NBA rookies last year in three-pointers made. He is a phenomenal three-point shooter, along with McCall Bridges, who I think is pretty underrated for the job he's given. He played pretty well in the bubble, and he showed that he has the potential to contribute to this Phoenix Sun team for years to come. And then the Suns also just drafted number 10 in the NBA draft, which I was actually very impressed that they were able to keep that pick, especially with the Chris Paul situation, because in order to get Chris Paul, I would assume they need to get rid of that pick. But I think they compromised with the Thunder by doing I think it was two first rounders. I think it was two first rounders. We're going to pretend it is for this scenario, but 2 first rounders in exchange, but they got to keep their 10th overall pick this year. And with that 10th overall pick, they got Jalen Smith, who's a center, power forward, really good player. I mean, he has pretty low ceiling, but he's got a high floor, and he fits into the Suns team, who just traded away Aaron Baines to the Hawks. So, or they didn't trade him away, but Aaron Baines got picked up by the Hawks on a pretty giant contract. It was like $63 million for 3 years. So take that as you will, but Jalen Smith kind of fills that role Aaron Baines had, because Jalen Smith works so well with this team because he is an incredible three-point shooter. He shot 38%, I think, in college last year on 3 attempts a game. Plus, he's an amazing offensive rebounder to go along with DeAndre Ayton, who's a great board man himself. Plus, Jalen Smith is an athletic freak. He's got like a 7'2" wingspan. He's 6'10". He's a big guy. He's up there with Onyeka and James Wiseman, and the best big guys in this draft, this most recent draft. Plus, I mean, you cannot talk about this guy without thinking of his shot blocking ability. He averaged 3 blocks a game in college. He was an elite defender, an elite three-point shooter, and an elite athletic guy. His biggest weakness is his size. It's not necessarily his height or his wingspan. It's just he's pretty skinny. He reminds me a little bit of Jackson Hayes. He's really, really athletic. He can do things pretty well. He's got a decent handle. But he just can't get it done from a size perspective. If he can work on his lower body strength, that's going to be a really big role in his development in the NBA, because he's going to be going up against guys like Joel Embiid. And, I mean, Nikola Jokic isn't a great defender, but he's a big boy. So it's hard to really assert yourself in the NBA when you're 6'10" and you're not. Like, Bam succeeds, but he's extremely strong and extremely built. Jalen Smith is a strong guy, but lower body-wise, he can't compete with other guys in the NBA. Jalen Smith, I think he was a great pick for the Suns. He fills that Aaron Baines hole. So they've got CP3 and D-Book. So those are their guards. And their biggest weakness right now would be their guards, because obviously it wouldn't be their starting guards, but they have no depth. They need a veteran guard who can play make in order to come off the bench and provide scoring and playmaking, like kind of a Jordan Clarkson kind of guy who can come in and contribute and keep the defense on their toes when Devin Booker and Chris Paul need a rest. I mean, Chris Paul is 35. He's not a spry fellow, so they're going to have to sort that out. I think actually Garrett Temple would have been a good way to go. His veteran presence and his defense would have been really important, but the Bulls got him. So as a Bulls fan, I'm happy about that. But there's a couple guys out there, free agent-wise, that they can take a shot at. I don't think there's necessarily anybody great, but if they can package a trade, I know they're involved in like a 7-team trade with like the Pelicans, the Thunder for like Steven Adams. I don't know how all that's going to work out at the time of this recording. So with that said, I want to go ahead and get into my expectations for the Suns, because obviously they're unlucky enough to be in the Western Conference. So what would be a contender, playoff contender, and possibly championship contender in the East has now devolved into, my opinion, a fringe 8th to 6th seed. They can be anywhere in between there. There has been a hole opened up in the West from a playoff seeding perspective, because now they have the Thunder, who I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. So I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So there's that hole. But you've got the Mavericks, you've got the Lakers, obviously, Clippers, Nuggets, Jazz, and Portland Trailblazers. That's 6. Plus, you've got the Suns, who I think are probably going to end up around 7th, 8th. The West is just so stacked. It's too stacked, in my opinion. Like, there's no competition. You can have a great team in the West, and you're not going to be able to compete. The Rockets also, depending on what happens with James Harden, could open up a spot, because if James Harden leaves, that team is in shambles. I don't think they'll win. enough games to get into the playoffs. So thinking about that, you've got to kind of open up with the possibility that the Suns team, if they do get into the playoffs, which I think they will, 7th or 8th seed, possibly 6th. I mean, the Blazers are going to be good with Covington now and a healthy Dame and CJ McCollum, but I think that is going to be a duel. I think that they're going to be really close in seeding. But to talk about the Suns' play in the playoffs, per se, would be I am really excited because Chris Paul, clutch guy, he can get it done in the clutch and he can play make for Devin Booker. Plus, we saw Devin Booker's play in these most recent bubbles. He was hitting game winners all over the place. Like, he looked fantastic. I was extremely impressed with him. If Chris Paul and Devin Booker can consistently produce, it's going to open up another hole for DeAndre Ayton to cut up. So, I'm really looking forward to it. I think that, in my eyes, the Phoenix Suns can contend for a championship. The only problem is they have the Lakers in their division. So, I think they're a good matchup for every other team in the West. They can contend, they can compete against the Clippers, they can compete against the Nuggets, they can compete against the Jazz. But the Lakers are just too good to be messed with right now. I think the Lakers are going back-to-back. So, take that as you will, but I think that the Suns are a contender in the West to make it to the conference championship in the West. But I don't think that they'll win a championship just because of the Lakers' presence in the West. So that is going to do it for my prediction for the Phoenix Suns. I'm excited to watch them play. I am very excited to watch Devin Booker because if he can evolve into a top 15 guy, like with Chris Paul, I mean, he can legitimately be top 10 one day. Like, he can be up there with Jason Tatum. Like, he and Jason Tatum are pretty close. Definitely Jason Tatum's above him. But they are close in the rankings. So I'm really, really excited to see this go down. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'm going to continue to do NBA and NFL content throughout all leading up to the playoffs and NFL and all the regular season stuff for the NBA. So keep on the watch for my stuff, but I will talk to you guys next video, and peace.